Well, hello everyone. This is Ian, obviously. Um, this is just an update on sort of where we're at, where we're going, and as it relates to sort of, I think, hopefully where all of our collective futures are going in all the best ways. I am so happy to have all of you intermingled with that future, whether it be simply through watching this or through being involved with directly with the things that I am doing. So in this little presentation I've got going here, I've got sort of three things I'm going to cover, which is sort of what ultimately I've been trying to center my life around a single thing to be as efficient as possible with harmoniously maintaining sort of work, income, enjoyment, hobbies, and friends and family and self-care. And um, at the end of the day, because of my disability, there's a lot of maintenance involved, so I have to be very sort of careful with my time and be very sort of like always optimizing how to do that. And so ultimately, at this point, the one thing that I'm working on sort of serves all of those things, and you all are involved with that. And I mostly doing this presentation just to wrap my own head around it and kind of pat myself on the back for how far we've come, but also give myself a bit more of a realistic perspective on where we actually are at and what we've got ahead of us, because I get so overwhelmed, and realistically all of this stuff is extremely approachable. And yeah, let's get started. So I'm kind of like codenaming this MOSHA, and you can kind of see it's at the center of everything you have. I mean, I got my brand here, which is just what I do every day, and which is writing, blogging, poetry, etc. That's just sort of a part of the way that I reduce my cynicism and anger, which makes me more efficient to do the work for you all. And this one here is sort of my sort of need to express myself, and that's kind of done through social media and YouTube and that kind of stuff. And that's kind of something in the works, but MOSHA serves that as well. And I've got my old clients from Objective Digital, and then I've got my partner Brittany King, who has her own business, but also we are partners in more than just business. And then we've got the other four remaining here, which is a codename LB. I'm not going to say too much about that because the people I'm involved with don't want me announcing it without them. So we've just got a little birdie here as a hint, if anyone knows what I've been up to in the past. And then we've got Onyx Medical Supplies, who is one of the biggest funders of this. So obviously, Addison, the owner of Onyx Medical Supplies, will generally get preference in terms of timelines. So if you can all keep that in mind. Marshall, Spencer Marshall of Marshall Coaching, he is kind of the second biggest funding source right now, and he also will get preference to timeline. And then with Meeting Ado, I'm partnered with Hashem. This one's a bit of a different relationship, which is he is doing the sales basically for a scheduling app that I made many moons ago, and now I'm finally got someone to sell it, and so that's great. And so I have a responsibility to Hashem as well. And so obviously, as I accidentally move to the next slide, MOSHA stands for Make Our Software Human Again. So my primary goal with this software is to empower all of you to be able to interact with software as if you are a human and not having to have coder brain like I always do. So no code and focus on the humans. So I want to focus on you as the sort of developers of this app, and in the moments that I'm not able to do actual code for you, I want to make this no code so that you as developers don't need to know code. And then for your users as well. So I'm trying to, obviously, it will be garbage at the MVP launch and its, its minimal state. However, the ultimate goal is to guide you as developers to create a user experience, if I haven't already built it for you, in such a way that is, treating your users like humans as well. So, at the end of the day, uh, we can't keep treating everyone like numbers. I mean, ultimately, depending on how many customers you have, there is sort of a degree of, detachment that has to happen in order for you to, have time for the other things that are more important in life. But to, at the very least, create things in such a way that your customers will, um, you know, not want to smash their tablet against the wall when they're using your software. So, um, yeah, that's sort of like the driving sort of like mantra, I guess, as I move forward with this app that builds apps, and hopefully that influences sort of your moving forward with creating software with the software that I'm creating. So let's get into where we're at. And at this point, I've got, a really solid foundation. I actually, in my excitement, about a month or a month and a half ago, deployed this to a live server, but subsequently took it down because I had some security due diligence that I still needed to do. However, we're at a point where we could literally just use this at a very basic function. But there's still some sort of business specific stuff that still needs to happen for all the stakeholders. However, the baseline in my mind has been sufficiently met, and so we've got a really great foundation. There is authentication and authorization. So authentication is the ability to sign in safely and securely, and authorization to make sure that your users only have access to the things that you want them to have access to. The biggest win, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of being able to empower you all without needing me all the time, is to have no code page building and to still be able to interact with the back end without having to know code. There is a very basic markup thing, but it's basically you just type it in as if you would type in any other text, and then that will sort of dynamically generate the content that you want it to. There is an HTML and even CSS fallback if you're like some of the people that are part of the stakeholders that know how to do that, but otherwise it should be quite usable. Obviously, there will be some tweaks that I need to make it better usable, but for now, you can kind of muscle through it if you have to. And then with any sort of like online sort of software, I've found in my experience that everything can generally be boiled down to a feed. So like, if you look at like a blog, for example, it's just a feed of posts with a title, an image, the body text. And same with a podcast, it's kind of the same thing, except it also has an MP3 file. And so the idea with feeds is, if you're ever stepping outside of that blog and podcast boundary, you can do that. You can make kind of like Facebook. Facebook has a post, and those posts have, sort of their, image, video, text, etc. That kind of same idea. And everything that you create with your feeds automatically has an API integration made available, and you can scope that however you want through the authorization system that I already discussed. And what API stands for is Application Programming Interface. Essentially, what it means is that any external software, you can either have it make calls to you, or you can make calls to it. So if you think about signing in with Google, for example, if you click that sign in with Google button, even though you might be on, I don't know, let's say, I can't even think of an example right now. Let's say what? I let's say you're on, geez, Asana. It's a project management software. You can log in with Google. And so when you click that login with Google button, you basically are saying, Asana, I'm going to give you access to my Google. And so Asana says, hey, Google, can I have access to this account? They're giving me permission. And then you click a button that confirms that permission. And Google says, okay, well, they gave permission. Here you go. Here's whatever you need for signing up to Asana. And so it's basically two servers that are talking to each other. And that's essentially what you can do already with what we've got here. And so, for example, with LB, your project will be able to interact with other projects. So that's really exciting. Onyx Medical Supplies, you are able to make calls to your suppliers, and that's pretty much done. We just have to paste in the URLs and enter the appropriate credentials. That's great. Marshall Coaching, eventually you might want to make integrations with third-party services, and literally outside of maybe reading some confusing API documentation, you could do it yourself. And so, instead of having to learning to code, all you have to do is learn how to paste some URLs and paste in some credentials, and you're good to go. And to that same tune, there is API-driven feeds. It's kind of the same idea as like a blog feed, except instead of having an HTML sort of website presentation, you can just have a pure API presentation. So if you need to offer or scope your data in such a way that you can narrow it down based on who you're offering your service to. So for example, with LB, if you just want to supply images but none of the other metadata, you could just create a specific API feed that only serves them those images. So that's kind of, I hope I'm not talking like completely over your guys' heads. I know you're mostly tech savvy, but if you have any questions or you need things clarified, let me know. But anyway, all that aside, we've got payments and so much more boring stuff. I already feel like talking all that API talk was already putting you to sleep. But needless to say, a lot of the foundational stuff is good and set to go. And we're ready to head on to where we're going. And so the next piece is, e-commerce. Again, I am attempting to prioritize Onyx Medical Supplies just because they've been in it. They were the they were first ones in, and at this point they've paid the most money, and I want to make sure that I am sort of honoring where I'm at with them. So e-commerce, I think even with Marshall Coaching, there's so much any of us could do with that functionality. So ultimately, it's for Onyx, but we can all use it. Next up is HIPAA and AML compliance. Again, HIPAA is for Onyx. That is sort of like medical data processing compliance. At this point, even with Objective Digital, that was my primary business, I was already like 99% HIPAA compliant already. So there's nothing really new technologically that I need to do for HIPAA compliance. However, Onyx will be responsible for creating HIPAA compliant documentation and sort of like, it's almost like a privacy policy that's publicly available to people that are, signed up, except it is specific to HIPAA compliance language. And Addison will need to talk specifically about how to draft that agreement with your lawyers, because there are some sort of technical questions that have to be answered, and I will need to talk to you to answer those questions for you. But either way, those questions can eventually be answered, and pretty much after that, it's completely done. And then there's the AML compliance side of things, and AML stands for anti-money laundering, and because with LB, it is a crypto-related project, which means we are interacting directly with crypto wallets in one way or another, which means in a lot of legal languages, crypto wallets are essentially considered to be bank accounts. And so because of that, there is sort of like a KYC, which stands for, your customer compliance process, to be in compliant with anti-money laundering compliant stuff. So most NFT projects don't do this at their peril, and that's kind of, again, one of the ways in which we can and will stand out, is just to you know uh, show up in all the ways that we want to and should, to make us stand out. I mean, nobody's really going to care too much that it's not going to be like this amazing marketing point, but I think it definitely helps to establish trust and to show that we are going that extra mile, to make sure that our customers are safe with their purchases. So anyway, the next piece is branded tenants. So obviously that's a big selling point of Meeting at Do, is white label branding. And then with Marshall Coaching, we have discussed the possibility of offering sort of whatever we end up creating for Marshall Coaching to be available for other coaches, so that they can benefit, and help save the world, just like Spencer is. So next up, we have social, which is all the typical social features, likes, comments, etc., and even things like forums and instant messaging chat, and with LB, we've even discussed syncing that chat with Discord channels, particularly Discord channels that are dedicated to holders who have a bit more tenure, and if they want to, instead of being on Discord, they can go onto the site itself and have a much more sort of branded slash vibey experience. So it'll be a lot more artistic, and not sort of that generic Discord interface. And same with Marshall Coaching. I think at this point we're not very clear on what exactly it looks like, but I feel like all of these can drive forward a lot of the stuff that Marshall Coaching will be doing moving forward. And then obviously, with sort of like chat features and even forums, they act as great customer service devices as well. So instant chat is obviously customer support, instant sort of help for those customers that need it, as well as forums and that type of community feature for product. So like, if like a product request feature feed, pretty much any software platform that exists has a forum where you can post an idea and people can vote for that idea, and the ones that seem to make the most sense and also get the most votes, you can start contributing to that. And then I'm gonna go over this quickly because I don't want to put you to sleep. But basically, we have API integration going both ways, all that good stuff. The next thing to do is to upgrade it to sort of a webhook option, which basically means that it's sort of more like real time. So if you think about instant messaging chat, generally those are built on webhooks, which basically just means that you don't have to reload the page every time. So it's very useful for chats, or if you want to make something a lot more fast paced and engaging. So like if there was, I think Twitter did it for a while, where like if people were clicking like, you would literally see the like number go up and up and up, and you wouldn't have to reload. So that kind of idea. And then lastly, we have blockchain and wallet integration, and I think ultimately it's for LB. However, any of these projects that we're working on could offer that as an option. The world is definitely moving toward that in a lot of different ways, and I don't know if it'll ever be sort of globally adopted by every single person. However, if that ends up happening, you will be prepared, because it will always be there, thanks to working with LB through me. So that's pretty much it for where we're going. There's obviously a lot more. So at this point we have timelines. Right now I'm fully merging the scheduling system into the application, and the primary reason I'm doing that, even though it wasn't originally part of MOSHA, is because it was drawing a lot of my time away from MOSHA, and it really did not feel good that I was not serving the rest of you in the ways that I was hoping to. So I'm in the process of merging it into it so that any future work I do serves all of us rather than just that single project. So that's pretty exciting. I'm about 70% of the way through. I have probably another day or two of development before it's fully merged. So I'm really excited about that. Oh, sorry, excuse me. And then after that, again, Onyx Medical Supplies has been waiting for me the longest. I'm prioritizing that. And then after that, Marshall Coaching, and then after that, faster than I think it will be. It might have to get bumped up, but the overall tasks should be fairly minimal. So if I do have to end up prioritizing that, it shouldn't be too much of an interruption getting in the way of anything else. And then obviously with, sort of my self-care management, energy levels, learning developments, just keep, I gotta take care of myself. And sometimes that I'm still getting used to it in the sort of new body and mind I'm in since the recent changes in my medication. Well, I guess it's not so recent now; it's a year and a half. But things keep getting different, all in good ways, of course. But constantly having to reevaluate what that looks like for me. But anyway, and then of course there's keeping up with the pace of industry. People are getting, a lot more concerned about data privacy. There could be, abrupt changes in HIPAA compliance. There, obviously with the, blockchain related projects with LB, there could be, we might just have to, switch from one chain to another, depending on, what we feel is going to best benefit us. So, keeping nimble, and that's sort of why MOSHA exists in the first place, is to make everything no code and super easy to do so that we can remain nimble. And I'm, working that into my workflow in general with just how I sort of design the prioritization of tasks in the first place. So that's pretty much it. That's all I've got for you. This took way longer than I thought it would, but yeah, really excited with where we're going. And yeah, just leave me a comment or something to let me know what you think, any questions. And for anyone else watching this that I shared it with, let me know what you think of where this is at. I'm going to leave a bunch of links in the description. One of them will be a video I recorded for a couple of grant programs that demo the scheduling app as well as the app that builds apps. And a demo, or sort of like a link that demonstrates the newest feature in the scheduling system. All of the videos are quite outdated, so everything looks kind of awful in some of them. So just know that things are quite different now. But yeah, just if any of those things excite you, yeah, let me know, and reach out to me. Let's talk, and if you want anything more or want things to change, just give me a shout. Okay. Thank you for watching, and yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you all soon. Okay.